Your take on coming to the UFC is one of the more interesting takes I've seen. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say this. You were moving from WEC to UFC, and one of the things you worried about was, hey, I was kind of a big fish in the WEC. I don't want to move to UFC and then kind of be the small fish in the big pond. So have you kind of changed your attitude on that and kind of seen the benefits of being in UFC where you don't feel like you're going to get lost?
Well, like anything, you got to earn that respect and that ability to be on the main card and stuff. So, it's work in progress, like everything. I've always had to work for wherever I got. So, I'm game. I'm ready to earn that. Put together a couple more wins and hopefully be on the main card and then be where I'm supposed to be and hopefully taking on some top 10 guys.
Last 3 years, say, did you look at UFC and go, because you were here once, obviously right. they gave you a really tough matchup, but the whole time you were fighting in WEC and elsewhere, did you always look at UFC and go, you know what, I can still compete at that level? I really didn't get a fair shake the first time around.
Absolutely. When I first came into the UFC, I fought John Fitch, tough guy, win the decision, and then I fought again. I fought Keita Nakamura and beat him, and then of course then I went into the WC and was kind of on the top of the game there, and then the whole time looking, I've hung with John Fitch, I've hung with those guys, and knowing that, and I went out and trained at AKA with the top 70 pounders over there, and I knew that I was right there with them. So I knew that someday I'd be back, and someday I'd make my mark, and that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Well, obviously they hold you in high regard. I mean, they're bringing you back now on pretty short notice. You fought right at the beginning of April. You're 5 weeks since that last fight. Any kind of adjustment process in terms of that? I know guys get fights on short notice often. In this case, you did a great job your last time out. You kind of steamrolled them pretty easily. Was there any hesitation to take a fight on that short of notice?
No, I was in good shape, and sometimes it's easier to do that right away than get that 15-day fat on. And it was nice because then I knew right away, because I actually knew the night of my fight, after the fight, about midnight, I got the call from my manager saying that possibility might open up. So not to be too crazy and too stupid. So I knew that going in. So I kept my weight down, and it's been an easy camp, and the cardio's great because they just trained right through it, and so everything's a little bit easier actually this time.
Are you a fight fan? Do you actually pay attention to the other fights?
I do. Especially of course Shirk, who I train with, and Matt Hughes came up for a week and trained with us. So
what was that like?
It was awesome. I mean, in one day I got to train with 3 UFC champs, Shirk, Hughes, and then I went and trained with Monet. So in one day I got to train with 3 UFC guys. So it was awesome. They're one of the best in the world.
So give us your impression of Matt Hughes. I think a lot of people now look at him and they're like, hey, he's over the hill. He's lost a couple fights. Maybe it's time to move on. He's 35. What's it like kind of latching on to Hughes? And you guys have similar styles, obviously both coming from the wrestling background. Yeah,
he's actually a great guy. I don't think a lot of the things that has happened has done him justice, but he's really a really good guy. He's real humble and tough SOB, he's tough. And he gets on top of you, and man, he feels like 1,000 pounds. I think he's really taking this fight serious, and one of the fights that he is actually taking serious. He actually don't like Sarah, and I think it's something that he's taken to heart. And I think when you hit his heart, I think that's when you trigger the real Matt Hughes.
What do you think is going to happen? Is Sarah too small?
I don't know if Sarah's too small. So I think it's going to be a great fight, but I think Hughes is going to win. I think Hughes actually has a reason to fight, and I just think he's big and he's strong and he's heavy, and I think he's going to be able to take Sarah down and impose his will, and either I don't think he's going to be able to necessarily submit Sarah, because Sarah's pretty crafty, but he might be able to get that weight on him and pound him out or win a decision.
Do you pay attention to the rankings? Do you look at how people have different fighters ranked? Because Matt Hughes has dropped way down, and I've made the argument. I'm like, I don't know that he can't, beat Fitch or Koscheck or Swick, or he couldn't beat Alves, but I think there was some issues in that fight. But I don't know that he can't compete with the top 5 guys. Am I wrong?
No, Hughes I think can compete with anybody in the world actually. He's kind of that guy that he kind of needs that reason to train now.
Yeah.
I think he definitely belongs in the top 5, top 10. Anything less than that is insult to him. But he's there, man. He could give anybody a run. He could beat anybody. So yeah. I'm excited to watch that fight for Sarah and Matt. I'm a fan of both guys.
What do you think of the main event?
That's going to be an interesting fight, actually. I'm not sure how it's going to go. Machida's got that crazy style, and Rashad is very explosive, and it's two very different guys, and it's either going to be a really boring fight or a really explosive fight.
Exactly.
We'll see. I don't want to make a prediction on that one because I have no idea.
All right. Well, good luck in your fight. Glad to see you back in the UFC, and keep trying to roll up the wins.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks.